Welcome back to Kentucky. Now, with the news today that Jared Vanderbilt has declared for the draft, the question becomes, who is going to be on this team next year?
Although not hiring an agent, so he could come back.
That's true. He might very well come back. So I wanted to look and talk about these guys and say, hey, what would happen if they stay in the draft, et cetera. Now, we assume Nick Richards is staying. I think Quade will probably stay. So let's look at these other guys. And I guess of the people that are still waiting, P.J. Washington is the one that, to me, probably has the best chance of being picked in the draft, although I'm not sure that he would. What do you think?
Well, P.J. is the one that I really want to return the most. I think he's would be the most valuable piece to come back next year because of all the experience. I know Jared Vanderbilt's been here a year too, but he did not play, obviously, the way P.J. did. You know, Wenyen Gabriel, I think, could add a lot to next year's
Well, let me
team.
go back to P.J. Washington for a second, because when you look at P.J. Washington, he plays college basketball really well.
Yes.
He is a good college player. He reminds me of the kid at Tennessee, the Williams kid that eats us up every time we play him.
Especially when P.J. gets cramps.
And that's right. Like, that kid is never going to play in the NBA, but he's a great college player. I don't see P.J. as a great NBA player unless he learns to shoot threes a la Patrick Patterson.
Yeah.
I think the NBA is going to want to see him do that for a year. I do think he wants to leave. I mean, he wants to go to the draft. He's a kid that believes he should be in the draft. But I got to tell you, I mean, I've watched enough of these guys come through. And you know when people are NBA ready and you don't. And I just don't see it. I mean, plus next year's draft is so weak. Like, he's projected 20th in next year's draft. To me, it's a no-brainer for him to come back. But I'm not sure if he will.
Does he have to hear something in your mind? Does he have to hear first round to leave?
Probably, but here's what I worry about with him. You know, like news or in politics right now. If you want a particular piece of news, if you search enough, you'll find it.
Yeah.
Right? Like whatever your position is, if you search enough.
You only need one team to tell him.
I worry he's going to talk to 30 teams. 25 will say come back, and one will say not, and that's what he wants to hear, and he'll go do it. So that concerns me. You mentioned Wenyen Gabriel. When I watch Wenyen play, he's in the NBA, talk about 3-and-D guys who can shoot threes and play defense. He could be that, but he's had one game in his career where he was really lighting it up from three. I don't see him getting drafted. What do you think?
I don't see him getting drafted, especially in the first round, but I do think he has the makings of what today's NBA looks like.
He's got to get better defensively, though, because he's a disaster on defense. So, again, using a guy like Patrick Patterson to use him again, he can play good enough defense in Toronto that they can actually play him. Can you see Wenyen guarding anyone on the NBA level?
No, not for what position he'll be playing.
Yeah,
no.
you got to play the 4 or the 3. I just don't think he's quick enough. Now, Jared Vanderbilt deciding today surprised me a little bit because he's hurt. You know, he has a foot injury, so he's not going to be able to work out. So, Mary Jo, what is he trying to determine? Like, he's not going to get picked. I mean, he's not going to get picked. So what is he looking at, do you think?
I think if he had never played here,
he might have gotten picked.
He'd have gotten picked.
But now he's not, and I think he almost has to come back, which brings me to just a point about all three of these guys. Kentucky fans, I think, are cool with the fact that Kevin Knox goes to the draft or Shai Alexander goes to the draft. But when P.J. Washington, Jared Vanderbilt, and Wenyen Gabriel, if those three guys all end up going to the draft, do you think fans are right to say, I just don't like this? Like, these dudes weren't good enough to go, and they're still going.
Yes, because then I think it becomes this mentality that, like, Kentucky is the only school that you go to when you want to not go to college.
Yes.
I feel like people, that's the expectation. It doesn't happen at Duke the same way, even though they lose a lot of guys. But those three are not ready.
Yes. And I think if you go back and look through UK history, we haven't had a lot of dudes like those guys go, who, like, weren't going to get drafted. I mean, Isaiah Briscoe did, but he was not a guy that I think the staff was eager to keep. I honestly think for Kentucky fans, they've reached a little bit of a breaking point. And if these three dudes all go, I feel like a lot of fans are going to kind of be really tired of it. What do you think?
And I feel like Cal, even where he loves to push guys out the door that need to go, I think even he might feel like, okay, you guys, I'm telling you, you're not ready.
This seems like a turning point for me one way or the other in terms of what do these guys do. I think 2 of the 3 will be back. I think PJ and Jared will end up being back, but I hope they are, because if they're not, I'm not really sure.